if you've been struggling with your sexuality, if you've been struggling with sex, if you have trauma around sex, if you've been struggling to feel connected during sex or even your own self-pleasure, this is going to rock your world. This is so brilliant. And Lauren gives you literal, practical advice and tips and steps to work through some of our sex stuff. This is a topic I've been exploring in depth over the last year, and this is one of the best humans I've heard on this topic. I'm really excited for you to listen to this. I think you're going to learn so much. It's going to rock your world. So get a piece of paper and a pen because you need to take some notes, and let's dive in. Lauren, welcome back to the show. I think you're my second time guest.
Really? That is such a delight to my soul because I couldn't wait to come back. I wish we could have just continued our conversation last time.
I agree. And we were just chatting, and I think we should continue chatting about this because it's very interesting. A lot of people think that growth is like super easeful, those periods that are good, right? That like all the blessings are raining down on us. It's very easeful and fun, and finally I'm here. And that, yeah. Tell us about that. How is that for you?
For those of you who are just listening, my body is like crumpling because we were talking off camera and off of this recording that I have just experienced this beautiful season of growth and blessings. And oh, the growing pains that I have also experienced. That feels so similar to seasons of grief, seasons of mourning. And to me, as a person who has experienced a lot of mourning, the death of a marriage, the death of a mother, the death of relationships, the death of community, of my faith structure, I've experienced far more death than I have grand abundance. It feels so eerily similar and has made me so thankful for the grief work that I have done. Because in some ways it has felt like outgrowing a life of mine before, and yet I have dropped balls in the same way that you do when you're grieving and you literally can't even remember what day it is. I have upset friends. I have been harsh with my words. I have bumped into things out of my own humanity in ways that almost a toddler looks when you look at it like a little toddler, or you look at a teenager and their arms are too long and their neck is too long. That's what I have felt like. And it has felt so similar to my intense seasons of mourning after the death of someone really close, because everything has felt, I've told folks, I almost feel homesick for the next rendition. And I remember that same homesick feeling in the initial stages of grief. And yes, it's felt so uncomfy. And yes, I've said this is exactly what I've prayed for and manifested and desired and spoken to the universe and spoken to friends about. And yet, boy, oh boy, it does not come without discomfort. Yes.
Wow, that is so fascinating. And I wonder, you know what this reminds me of when we bring it to our topic today? Actually,
Yes.
just popped to my mind.
Go for it.
My last short relationship, unfortunately. In that relationship, I felt so seen, like I've never been seen before in my life by someone.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying. And
Yeah.
maybe the grief has to do with it then brings up the moments that we didn't experience the goodness, right?
Yes. And there's got to be this level of vulnerability in both being seen inside of a romantic container and being seen inside of some type of professional or relational container in which it is similar to the creative process, which of course is connected to sex. I'm showing you, right? I am showing you my truest self. Will you see me? Will you like me? Will you love me? Will you want to lick me with your tongue, right? Like all these things. It is so inherently vulnerable. And I think that it's got to be the same vibrational energy that I have a 14-year-old that she's going through as she is also growing and becoming. And I think as human beings, so desperately want to belong, want to be seen, want to be valued. And so, by nature of me putting myself on a stage and speaking to folks that I don't know how they're going to receive me, it's a nerve-wracking experience, is so similar to the relational realm. I definitely think so.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're doing that. I'm so happy for you. And I can totally recognize how terrifying that is. In my business, I'm kind of shifting, and we're gonna bring this back to sex. It's just so related. It's so fascinating.
They are so
Uh,
related. I say all the time that sex is not everything. It's just a part of everything. And I think that when we can have these conversations is when we start to go, oh, that's why our sex matters. Because our sex isn't just this isolated event. Our sex is how we show up in these ways. So please continue with your business. It
so
does,
excited.
it is connected.
I'm excited to ask you questions. Um, in my business, I've shifted recently, which has been, again, terrifying, from speaking from like, the science says this, the nervous system science says this, or the book of this person says that, to sharing more of like my own experience. And that's very, very scary and vulnerable. Like you said, like, oh my God, am I an authority? Like, can I just share, my life story and that's enough to teach from?
Yeah. My body just went, yes. So, yes. And I hear you. I so hear you. Before this work right now, I worked in maternal health for a decade. So I worked with preconception to postpartum individuals. And my main focus was in hosting these gatherings every other week of a panel of experts. So I spent a decade moderating discussions with experts. And as I transitioned out of that into my own work in this sexual health realm, that exact thing, I was terrified. I was like, I have so now been so used to uplifting the voices of others, which is still a favorite part of my life to do, is connect and speak the names of others in good places. But what I could be an ex what? Right? Like, what does this mean? Well, how does one get knighted? How does one get deemed the expert? How does that happen? And yet, yes, the world needs your voice. The world needs your intuitive wisdom. And there's such a beautiful opportunity for us in these spaces to share that and to know that we're not making other people listen to us. I want to listen to you. I want to come back onto podcasts with you that the others get to be in their choosing. And yet, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
May I ask a follow-up question to you? What has led that transition from, because I find myself doing that a lot, of quoting another, sharing the book, sharing the science, sharing the research. And I know the patriarchal roots to why I do that. But what has caused this transition and this deep knowing that it was time to move into sharing your own intuitive wisdom? What has led that?
I feel like so many things. I've had students literally say to me, like, I'm not interested in that book. Like, like, tell me about you. And it was like here and here. And I was like, no. But that's, and then on social media, like the way that my account blew up is explaining the nervous system or the science or like being very heady. And, growing up, maybe you can relate to this. My family was all about like science, practical, no emotions. Emotions are not necessary. And I was always like the big hearted, like, let's just all be vulnerable and like talk and love each other.
Yeah.
And that has always felt like the truth to me. Like that is much more interesting to me. But I grew up with a narcissistic father who was dying to be seen. And I'm dying to be seen too. But that, like, my biggest fear is to be him. That is, like, terrifying to me, and to suck up all the air from the room and take up all the space, but then it becomes very extreme, right? Like, either I suck up all the space or nothing, and there's no middle ground. So I think I've become estranged from my father quite recently, and so I think that was a big breaking point. Like, also, there's so much. Oh my God, your question is just, like, so
I just want you to keep going. I'm like, let this be affirmation to you. I am literally like, I can feel the saliva growing in my mouth. I just want to hear your story because I'll share the little bit like this breaking of an attachment, which is totally grievous, as we're both saying, right? This is absolutely a death in and of itself, but it allows us to gain observational distance from patterns that we have used and utilized over time to stay safe or to be different than, or these like contracts we made with ourselves of I'll never be my father, right? And then it allows us to go, oh my goodness, look at the ways in which I was adapting. So I am literally clinging to your every word. Please continue.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I keep thinking about, I mean, it's so true what you said, that it gave me like so much new awareness about, oh, it's saying change the battery back. You're coming back. It's all good. Like, oh, there you are. It's just like, it just gave me so much perspective that I never had before about the patterns with which I grew up. And then one of my best friends said, your money issues have to do with your rejection of your dad in this totality, because there are so many things about him that I want to be, but in my own way. Like
Oh,
him,
yeah.
but my own way,
Oh,
you
yes.
know? And
Yeah.
and just because I'm not having a relationship with him and my whole life I was like, I wanna be the opposite of this person, it's so immature to be exactly like someone or exactly the opposite, right? And we wanna create our own version. And then I have a client who's dealing with the same stuff.
Of
Yeah,
course, right?
and
They are
and
this is
him
where they're our
too.
greatest teachers, right? We're sitting there and we're going, "Oh my goodness, you you are
He's
got
so
me."
good at it. He's like, "I'm setting all these boundaries with my dad at work." I'm like, "Mhm."
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So, that really I don't know, like, the thing that keeps coming to me is, like, people pleasing. Like,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
like, fitting into a thing, like, being liked,
Yes.
maintaining the connection at the cost of maintaining the connection to self.
Yeah.
And where does that show up in sex?
Everywhere. Just transition us very this is why I say that sex is not everything, it's just a part of everything. And the time in which we start to have this revealed to us is very different. Some of us will start to heal in the relational realm, and then we'll realize, oh my goodness, now it's time to take these same lessons and apply them to the language of my body. Great. Some of us are more feelers. So we'll be having these embodied sexual encounters wherein we are giving a gift and receiving a gift, where we are coming to agreements of consent, and we'll say, well, wait a second. Why is it that I can do this here, but I can't negotiate a beautiful business contract, or I can't take up as much space in a boardroom as I can in the bedroom? And so, how one comes to it is very much up to you, dental audience. But my way to this exact thing was through being on the basement floor of my apartment and crying my eyes out and pouring through sexual texts and going, wait a second. If if I have no voice in the bedroom, well, then that would definitely keep me small in all of these other aspects. And so what does it look like to start to find my truest needs, wants, and desires, and then just extend them to another? Of this is what I would like. This is what I can offer. Are you interested in playing with me? Are you interested in intertwining our bodies in a very sexual way, in a very pleasure-aligned way? But until and this is where I think this is so in alignment with what you're saying in the business realm, until I could realize my value and my worth, until I could say things. So my own father's father committed suicide from bipolar disorder, and I believe deeply in my soul that my own father has undiagnosed bipolar disorder, and we also have no relationship, and he lives here in this town, but we have no relationship.
Wow, so far.
And I see you. It is one of the hardest things in the world, and so I see so much of myself in your story of I do not want to embody the shadow side of his personality. I deeply don't, because it was so harmful. And yet there is a part of him that was so good at stating his wants. And I had so silenced that ability in myself. One of my favorite quotes is, I was always afraid to take, so I gave. It was not a virtue, it was a disguise. And I think because of the adaptive patterns that I chose to utilize after seeing this type of behavior in my life. I just was giving and giving. This was not virtuous. This was a disguise. And the more I could come into my own body, and this is still a practice, as we just saw with Lauren's abundant experience, as I can stand in, no, my body is worth. And it's actually okay if I am too much for some people. Oh, that was hard. It was too hard, so hard to go, "Oh, these are my wants," and I literally had lovers tell me, "I will never be enough for you." And what my body read that as was, "Oh, should I be less? Wait, should I be smaller?" And that's not what they were saying. These are good men. They were just saying, "I am not as driven as you. I don't there is not enough of me. My sexual energy could never play in that vortex. My wants could never play as large as you. Go. Go, sweet girl, go." Yet it felt like such intense rejection. It felt like, mm, no, thank you. It felt like I was turning someone off. And this is so in alignment with it's like we're going through a psychoanalyzing situation right now because I'm like, this is why these new situations for me, right, are so scary because they are a lot. They are a lot. And so being able to sit in my allotness, in my muchness, in the sexual realm, in the professional realm, in the relational realm, oh, is so juicy and so necessary. Yes. And can feel, hmm, this is why I think this work is so important too, because the being able to come back to ourselves piece of the whole puzzle. Uh, hmm, even if I do this big bold thing, and if the worst case scenario happens, I'm gonna be okay because I have me. And I think my season of singleness, oh my goodness, juiciest season of my life, because it was there that I found how to be the best lover to myself, the human that I could come home to. And that same practice is exactly what I came home to in this most recent season of expansion. The same thing that I had to come back to of, yes, this is scary, and you're still here for you. Right? I had to amp up so many of those practices, and yet they were right there. Right? They were like a book on the shelf that I could pull out and say, journaling practice needs to ramp up, maybe multiple times a day. Silent walks need to ramp up, sitting with oneself, masturbation practices, all of this needs to come back up because we are face to face with attachment patterns again, face to face. Okay, I've talked enough.
Oh, this is
I'll
so good.
step off my soapbox.
It's so good. I love all of this. And we definitely have some parallel lives going on. I am in a commitment to singledom for a while.
Mm. It's juicy,
Yes.
my friend. It's juicy.
Yes. Yes. And there's a lot of freedom in it. So I totally believe that part of the healing is in like doing, meaning like even if you do like practices and you journal and all the things, but you're like, no, I'm gonna just go have sex with all these men and like date a million people so that I don't feel alone. Not that that's bad. Just say that so that you don't feel alone, right? That's like I'm running away from myself,
Yes.
but I'm still
Yes.
journaling and I'm still this and this and this. That's not going to work. But I do think the practices help so much. And you touched on abandonment wounds. And I think those are at the source of us trying to get smaller. And I have literally found myself in my previous marriage saying out loud, I wish I didn't do all this personal development work because now we would be together and we would be
Uh-huh.
okay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Been there. Been there. Yeah. I wish I hadn't outgrown you. We could have still been.
Essentially, but I said, I wish I didn't go on this journey, right?
Uh-huh.
So for people who are so terrified of abandonment, which I think we all are.
Yes.
High
We
five.
all high fives. We're here. We're here, friends.
We get it. And then, and then you make yourself smaller and you don't even realize it, but it really hurts. It really hurts. What are some of the practices? Okay, two parts. What are some of the practices you recommend for getting yourself to the point where maybe you choose to be single or whatever, like you choose to walk away from the soothing addictions?
Yeah.
I was totally addicted to men, I'm not gonna lie, to soothe me in my very dysfunctional family, that are not helpful. So to get to the point where you're like, okay, now I'm ready to stop the addictions. And then what are the practices then when you're like, okay, I'm pretty happy on my own, but I know I still like, and I'm totally like painting myself as a picture here, by the way.
It works.
It works.
This is relatable. It's so relatable. Continue. Yes. Okay. So number one,
so that's
how do we know? Yes. Okay. And then number two.
And then number two is when you do like, okay, you walk away, you're happy, you're single, but then you're like, I still feel a lot of guilt or discomfort or shame or anxiety speaking my needs. And, whether it's in sex or in life, because as we know, it's kind of the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the practices for both of those?
For both of those
versions?
How would we fix this? Great question. And I want to start by saying, this is all of us, whether we are avoidant or anxious avoidant or haphazard. There are so many different ways in which we show up inside a relationship. I'm going to pause for a second because one of us is frozen. We'll see. Is it me? Oh. I wonder if I need to go away and come back.
It's my internet, I think.
Totally fine. I just sat here and I was like, it's one of ours. Could have been mine. I was like, I don't even know. Costa Rica. I'm glad you're in Costa Rica. It was the perfect time too. I can launch right back in on these like number one and number two. It's like if there was a more perfect time.
If she's gathering her thoughts. Okay.
I did. Of course I did. I was totally fine. Did it still? Yeah, it's still recording. Good. Okay. And I paused because I was like, I think we're frozen. So I'm going to pause here.
I heard you. I was like, I'm going to pause. Like, okay, good.
That's fine. Such a gift of Zoom. And I'm like, we got to be able to be patient with the intricacies. We got to be patient. So if we were in the first category, so for question number one, maybe I'm doing all the things, but I'm still having these encounters that I would say maybe addiction, maybe addictive pattern, maybe a coping mechanism, which I love to say that anything can be medicine and anything can be poison. I think that sex is one of those things. So is reading. You could choose to read your favorite novel all day long, every day, and ignore every responsibility. And I would argue that you were using this novel as a coping mechanism. Now, beautiful. Emily Nagoski is famous for saying that we heal in the real world and we self soothe in the fantasy world. And so, if any of these things, these medicinal things, are self soothing, yay. But this leads me to I always invite my clients to check in with their bodies after. So, one of the greatest aphrodisiacs in the world is anxiety. Now, the tricky thing is, when we are being titillated by anxiety, we are feeling the drive towards this thing that's going to feel good. And newsflash, pleasure is the greatest antidote to pain. It isn't bad. It is just when we are continuing to utilize sex, sexual encounters, risky sexual encounters, whatever you want to say, in a way in that it is not allowing us to move into the thing that we truly want, our deepest want. So I invite my clients to, after the erotic encounter, I'm like, go for it, baby. Go for the erotic encounter first. Then I want you to see how you feel. So after the hormonal crash, right? Whether you're in bed with this person or you take a minute to then bring out that journaling practice that you say you're utilizing and do a check in on your nervous system now. How are those abandonment wounds treating you? How are those anxiety pieces in your body? Do you feel anxious? What do you find in yourself now? And was that sexual encounter that you just partook of, which again is your free right? I'm so glad you did it benefit you? Did it ease? Do you now feel more in body and more in alignment? Or is there a piece of you that feels incongruent? I always like to tell folks that in my slut era, after my season of singleness, of chosen celibacy, I was in my happy slut era, and I had a lot of great relational, casual sex, and it left me wanting. I had hours of tearful journaling where I would say, this is lovely, and this is not enough. I believe that these were consensual sexual encounters, and I want more. And am I okay with that wanting? Am I okay with being the woman who wants? Am I okay with me being the chooser? We spoke of abandonment wounds earlier, and I think what can often happen is this idea of learned helplessness, this idea of being a victim in our own stories. And so we can find ourselves feeling sad after a sexual encounter when it was just that or something like this. And so our nervous system, because our brains are clever creatures and they love to create a shortcut, our nervous system is like, see, you're back here again. It's up to us to go, no brain. No, this is similar, but this is different. I am in the driver's seat now. This is not my father choosing not to have a relationship with me. This is not my ex-husband choosing not to work on this relationship with me. This is me. I am choosing. And that might take literally writing it down. That might take going on a walk, like I was saying, right? A mindfulness practice and saying, I am choosing. I am choosing. This might take doing something. This is a practice that I give many of my clients and that I did, a day of choice. This is a day of embodied choosing where I go around and I only ask myself yes or no questions all day long. And I go, do I want sausage or bacon? Right? Or do I want sausage? Yes or no? Okay, great. Do I want to stop eating my eggs now? Yes or no? Uh-huh. Oh, wow. What I find in that powerful, silly exercise is my ability to choose, my ability to know exactly what it is my body wants. And that actually embodied choice is the most authentic gift I can give the world. And that by choosing me, yes, it may feel similar as being abandoned by yet another person, but there are differences. They are tiny differences. So that's what I would ask that person who was engaging in encounters, check in with oneself after these encounters, whether you're in a situationship, whether you're in a dating relationship, whether you're having casual sex, how does your nervous system feel after? Don't trust yourself when you are on the drug of arousal. That is a mighty creature, and it is fun and it is juicy, and I want everyone to have access to it, and it's not reliable. It is not reliable. Check in with yourself after. I was just telling someone else that I have also around me a community of folks who are kind of committed to never letting me adapt again. They want me to be all of myself and keep expanding. So maybe have one or two of those folks in the arena. Okay.
Oh, I love and
Uh-huh.
I love that practice. I think I've kind of been naturally doing it,
I bet you have.
asking my body, like, "What do you want right now?" Because I'm so not used to that, and it's unbelievably helpful. So I love the idea of doing a whole day like that, and also
It's
noticing how we feel after those encounters because there's no right or wrong. We're all
no.
different. We all need different things. But
Yes.
it's so good to, like, pause and actually notice what's
Yeah.
happening within.
What's funny is the thing I do it most with is food, which is really interesting because I often equate appetite with sexual desire. And it is not uncommon at all for me to be in the middle of eating or maybe three-fourths of the way through some meal, and my body will just go, we're done." Like, literally, like, "No." And to the point now that my sweet now husband, will be like, "Is your body done?" Like, that is literally this the question. "Was your body done eating?" Because 'Cause he'll sometimes, like, then scrounge what was on the plate, and it has become such an embodied practice, I don't even think about it anymore. I It is so important to listen to our yeses and our nos and our maybes and our negotiations. So, yes, uh, we are all different and there is no cookie cutter solution. And so that's why I think this practice of checking back in with self and notating similarities and differences. A client of mine is a medical practitioner, and they were telling me the difference between like the way a butterfly's wings move and a way a bumblebee's wings move and a way a bird's wings move. They're all similar, but they're different. And we have this a lot of fun, like, sussing out this analogy sometimes because these choices to choose self could feel similar to abandonment, but they're not. They're different. Right? The way a different bird and a butterfly or a bee's wings flap, similar but different. And we have representations in that all around us, and I just like to get juicy in them. But the other question was juicy too, which was, right, maybe you've chosen a season of celibacy. Maybe you're really getting clear on self. Like, how do you know, right? When do we start interacting? What do we start doing? Is there like some magic potion? And I'm always like, "No, of course." Like, I don't have some, like, cookie cutter answer. Um, mm, so I would if I was sitting with someone, as I'm sitting with you, I would say, try it in, how would I phrase this? Smaller, less risky increments first. What are test grounds in which somebody else's feelings won't be hurt? Someone else's well-being is not at stake. And where can we practice these kind of test grounds? Business is a great one, and so you're doing, which I think is great, right? When you own a business, it's lovely because you can kind of test these things out sometimes. But I would offer to a client or to a listener now, maybe something artistic, maybe trying something you've never tried before. Maybe I am big on self dates. I am big on taking oneself out on a little date and then checking in with your nervous system there. How does it feel in my body to be in this space alone, contained to myself? How does it feel to write a poem and share it with friends, right? Start to feel, how can I do something that is asking me to share that vulnerable little thing that we were talking about in the beginning? And how much can I stay in my agency in this risk? Because my loves, all of human relationship is risky. And I want us to sit in that risk. It's the juiciest space. And yet, when we have adaptive memories of times in which other people went through our boundaries and took from us, that is how we learned to exist inside a relationship. And there's nothing wrong with us. And yet, it is our work. I am so sad, but it is our work to learn how we end and the other begins. And so I think finding situations in which we can show up as us, maybe going to karaoke, maybe, I mean, there are so many opportunities the world provides for us where we could say, this is me, and then see how it feels to be in self and in the space of others. It is scary as all get out, and yet beautiful. Then I would venture into the dating world. I think, a lot of authors will talk on this often about the differences between, sleeping with someone on the first night and waiting. And I do think one of the benefits of going on a couple dates before sleeping with someone is that we get to see a check-in with nervous system of, am I still here? Can I still hear my own voice above the loud arousal in my brain, right? The loud anxiety that is drawing me to this person, the loud desire to be attached to this person in a sexual encounter. And I think that that says something. And I'm not here to say don't sleep with someone on the first date because I slept with my now husband on the first date and it was lovely. And one of the first things I noticed, even in our phone calls, is how much, because of the energetics, I was able to show up in my own body. I noticed jokes I was making, ways in which I was teasing that were totally my style. And I think it's because, too, when I met my now husband, he lived in California and I lived in Virginia and I was just flying in for a business conference. I think something in my psyche said, oh, you're never going to see this guy again. Like, show up as all of you. And so I just did. And wouldn't you know? Like, that was exactly what I needed to do. Yeah. So I'll stop there. Feedback, ideas from you, questions. Yes.
Oh, I love this. I want to kind of summarize it in, I guess, how I see what you said, which is so brilliant. It's like taking those risks in a way that doesn't trigger our nervous system into freeze. So it's like little tiny increments of being fully yourself, which is terrifying for every
Terrifying,
single one of us.
terrifying, friends. Terrifying.
And that's a beautiful practice with the people that you already have. Your safe people, right?
Yes.
That are already
Yes.
there that you can practice this with. So is the essence of sex this ability to take these risks and like really show someone yourself?
Yes. I think that the best sex is. I think there is still sex out there that people are having every single solitary day, and I am not here to judge it, that is performative in some nature. And yet, if being human beings who stand in our integrity and full of wanting is what leads to the juiciest invitations to sex, then yes, because it is scary as hell to want. It is scary to stand authentically in, this is what I want. Would you like to come play with me too? I often equate it to when little children want to go to the playground, right? And maybe they go on a play date, maybe their parent arranges it, or maybe it's old times where you could just say to your friend, you want to go to the playground, right? You want to go play? You would say, do you want to go play? You didn't know exactly what was happening at the playground. Maybe you're going to do slides, maybe you're going to swing, maybe you're going to do something else. And yet, that knock, knock, knock on a door, do you want to play? Wow, what a beautiful risk to say, do you want to come play with me? And what that requires is human beings knowing, yes, I do, or no, I do not, or having the ability and the language with which to negotiate to a place where it's comfortable for both parties, right? Maybe not that, but this, right? Like there's such a vulnerability in that, or not now, but then, or, ooh, yes, if, or I feel the pull. Can you tell me more? Or I'm curious, what about that? Oh my goodness, is so vulnerable and so risky because the other could choose to go, oh, no, thank you. And yet, all of that, if you can do it with another, is what leads to the best sex in the world. And I think that when we skip over this, when we just jump in bed with someone, when we just follow porn as our instructions on how to have sex, when we just look at movies as the template for romantic relationships, we're not seeing the whole picture because it's that stuff It's those little negotiations. It's a little, how do we get to the playground to play? And how long do we want to go on the slides? And how long do we want to go on the swings that make for everyone having a great time? And so risky, but to be seen like that, to know that I always tell folks that there are so many of us who were touched without our consent as young people. That is the most of us have that part of our story. And so we either have that as a lived experience, lived felt sense in our own bodies, or we never want to be that type of person to another, which is also fascinating to study, right? This idea that to desire another is a form of consensual taking. And so there is such a discomfort that sometimes we need to get comfortable with, which is, oh, wait, I do want you. And that is uncomfy in me because it takes up space. It reminds me of, I loved what you said earlier, right? It is unhealthy to want to be nothing like, and it's unhealthy to be want to be everything like. But so often we shy away from putting those wants forward because, yes, it is so risky. And most of us have some lived experience in our bodies of either being taken from or being a taker and not wanting to ever do that again. And I get it. But oh my goodness, acknowledging that I want to do to you this thing, may I? is so, so risky and so beautiful.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very healing to think about, because I teach about trauma all the time, to be like revealing your shadow to someone is the greatest way to be seen. But I feel like what you're saying is revealing your light in a way because you know your
Yeah.
pleasure. Like that's also very
It's yes. I mean, it's exactly what we keep it saying, right? This, friends, is why sex is not everything, it's part of everything. We're sitting here going, yes, shadow is scary. And it is. It is scary. My husband and I just had a whole shadow moment. It is scary. And yet the light too, right? Because the light can be blinding. People could say, like, oh, no, right? I don't like that part of you. It's scary too. Yeah. Oh, I like
Oh,
that.
I
I like
love how we looped back. Okay, I could talk to you forever and ever. I have just almost one last question. How do we talk to a partner? Like how do we if we want to have the conversation
yeah.
before about what we want, we what we don't want to do to them, to be done to us. How's that done?
How do we do that? How do we do that? Um, I suggest just kind of launching into it, and I suggest doing it with a phraseology that feels most comfortable to you, but this is one that I offer to clients all the time, which is, um, so I've never done this before, but I'd like to talk about sex while we sit here on the stage. Just tell the truth. There is something so lovely about saying, I have never done this before, and I feel so nervous that this is feels awkward, and yet I've done it this way before. Tell a story, and it resulted in fill in the blank, and now I wanna fill in the blank. And so I always suggest putting forward your motivations, your desires, the expectations, the hopes and outcomes so that you can, if desired, align your longings. So here's the wild thing is that some folks come into sexual encounters only desiring a recreational sexual experience. There is nothing wrong with that. What is deeply harmful and hurts like hell is when we came in desiring a relational sexual experience or a ooh, let's test the waters and let this see if this turns into literally a long-term partnership, right? We are really truly coming in with the motivation of yes, this is sex, but I want so much more. What I find so deeply harmful is that when we haven't gotten clear on our motivations, we haven't aligned our longings. And yeah, we'll have that casual conversation of like, looking for. People are like, oh, just something casual. And somebody else goes, oh, yeah, me too. And they're not telling the truth. And I'm like, my loves, we have to tell the truth. I know it means you may not go home with that person, but far better to be the liar in the situation. We must be authentic. So again, align, check in on motivations, check in on what are we looking for? Sometimes you can say like, what's your hottest and your mildest, right? Your wildest and your mildest. Like you could have that encounter and conversation about the encounter. But I think most importantly is to get clear on your motivations and your hopes for afterwards. And then all we can do is be our truest selves. I love this phrasing, so maybe this could be helpful too, which is I used to believe, and then I learned, and now I think. So it could be I used to believe that sex was just sex and that I could have some sex and then walk away from it. Then I learned that I'm a deeply relational creature and I like it about myself. And so now I think that it is better to have these awkward conversations first so that any sex partner of mine can decide if they desire to play with me.
I love it.
I want to
Oh,
see your face when
Lord.
I come on this soapbox.
So good. I feel like we're manifesting some goodness from for both of us from this conversation. Like there's a lot of light in it, and it just makes me so happy. So thank you.
That's what I want for you. So yes, that's what I was putting
You
forward towards
more of
you.
what you had, and in like gentle way for your nervous system.
Thank you. And it's and it is so beautiful to watch. And I you know what, I think this speaks to the sex and to professional growth or human growth as well. That when you have gone through something painful, as both you and I have, whew, that initial stage of growth can be so hard because you would be able to speak because your trauma is your specialty, but it can almost, I always call it like a tremor. It tremors to my original source wound so often. I can feel the like shaking in my nervous system to source wounds. So if I so desire, I can do some healing around that source wound. I can go back inside. I can hold myself. I can do some real sitting with. Hmm. Is this choice, is this growth in alignment with my values? Is this growth in alignment with the things I have been manifesting? Do I understand that I can always unchoose something? That I can say, that was nice, but no more. Yeah, okay. As I sit with these things and as I begin to bring in what I will need to support myself in the next season, what I will need to let go of because I'm only a human and I can't do it all, as I apologize for balls that I have dropped and things like this, I begin to see, okay, all right, like here we are at this next season. And so I do want anyone listening to know that I feel it is the same in the sexual realm, that the growth can be uncomfy when we've been only having these recreational sexual encounters that have left us empty inside. And then we have a relational, heart connected, like spiritual sexual encounter. Oh my, you could be sobbing in bed for days because it has tremored to an original source wound. You might be more afraid of abandonment after that. And again, the expert in this room could teach you that there's nothing wrong with you in that. That there is
Makes so much sense. It's
why?
like
Can you
that.
explain? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it brings up so much of the grief of what we didn't receive that is still there. And then so much of like, when is the other shoe going to drop? Because I'm not used to things being good. Like, my nervous system is wired so that if something good happens, I'm already preparing for the bad thing to keep myself safe. And in my experience of being seen, oh my God. I mean, when you think about it, vulnerability in like tribal days, that was not a good thing.
No, no. Like literally. So in our genetics, my friends, like our genetics are like, don't do that. Don't do that. You'll get eaten by a lion.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, like, do you want to tell the lion like where you chill, and the lion could come find you? It's like so great. What a good idea, right? So vulnerability. I mean, when you think about it, the way I was taught that word as a child was like, don't be vulnerable to bad things. Protect yourself. Don't trust anybody. And it's survival. It's survival. So when we come from chaos in our childhood and dysfunction, of course, we're very wired for that. And we don't want to be seen. So,
Yeah.
And then we do. That's the conundrum. We're like, oh my God, like I'm this very sensitive, sweet, big-hearted human, and all I want is to like sit with someone who's gonna see me, and then it happens, and you're like, oh my God, never mind. Like, can I just run, please? That was the worst thing ever.
Yep. No, I mean, my husband, my now husband would tell you, and we have a partnership podcast of which we talked about this very thing. In this season of growth, this professional expansion, I kept asking him, no lie, hear abandonment coming out of this very mouth. I kept saying, like, do you need to leave me? Like, I'm not possibly going to be able to meet your needs in this season. I'm sure you need to leave me, right? To the point that he was like, Lauren, I need you to stop saying that. I don't know what you're doing. Like, oh my goodness. Look how wired it is, right? That I can't possibly go there and be here, right? That I'm going to disappoint someone. They're going to abandon me because so much of my rhetoric that was given to me was a woman's place is in the home, caring for her family. If you pursue career, you're leaving your husband behind. He's going to need to get his sexual needs satisfied. Just a bunch of bullshit that absolutely created this understanding of myself. And so I wanted to like pre-abandon, right? Like, well, I'll do this.
I'm gonna prevent this. I'm just gonna, just do it now. I don't need to wait.
No. So our coach, God bless her, was like, Lauren, I really need you to stop. I was like, yeah, wow, I can hear it. I can hear it. And again, sex is not everything. It's just a part of everything. And I think that that is so similar to the sexual experience of getting that taste, experiencing an orgasm with someone who truly wants you to revel in that orgasm is so scary. I have so many clients that I work with who, up until now, have not been able to have a shared orgasm experience. And they will often tell me, I'm afraid of what's on the other side. What will they think of me? If I abandon myself to that level, if I let go in the presence of another, what will happen? Oh, yes, that same fear of abandonment. And you better believe we're not going to be shaming that for a second. That is, again, wisdom of the body. That's don't let the lions eat me. This is not shameful. This is, okay, how do we support these precious nervous systems of ours to have incremental feelings of safety? And sometimes that's as simple as having a day where we go, these little things in which we start to learn to trust ourselves again because we are trustworthy. And sometimes some of this has been revoked from us without our consent. Sometimes it is starting to figure out, where does that narration come from? Right? Where is this different narration of vulnerability is bad, right? And Lauren can't do that because then she'd abandon here. It is beautiful to then be able to check in and go, wait a second, do I align with these truth tellers, right? Do I align with these people who truly believed what they were saying? Do I believe that? And then getting to choose a new neural pathway, which, as we've said, is maybe horrifying, but you are able. You are able.
I love that you are sharing about yourself in this way. As we started speaking about embodying what we're teaching, because this is what makes you such an incredible practitioner. And my last question is, how can people work with you? What are you working on right now? Are you going to write a book, and when?
This is what every person has been asking me right now. Talk about the universe being like, please do this, which is part of this expansion. I mean, to be completely honest with the audience, I've had so many voices saying this right now. And that is not falling on deaf ears. It's falling on ears that think like, but where's that capacity going to come from? And that feels scary. So that's how my original conversation to my precious husband was like, since I'm going to write a book, you might need to leave me. It's like, oh my, okay, honey. No. But yes, working on that book. And yes, so it's in, it's in the writing stages. And I deeply believe that, I want it to be ready when some publisher or when I say it's time that it's ready. So it's happening in the early mornings and the late evenings. And I wanted to interweave my story and my brave clients' stories, of course, in ways that change all the actual facts. But I think that we learn through story. We learn through mirrored experiences, and I love stories. Tell me the stories of other people, so people need to know that if folks want to know more about me, they can just go to sexedforyou.com/connect. I made one page where on that page you can click to request a free consult with me if you'd love to work one-on-one. If you're not ready for that, you can listen to my podcast with said partner. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can go there, but that's all on that page. So go to sexedforyou.com/connect.
Thank you so much, Lauren. It's just keep going forever, but we'll stop here. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.